Here are animals with the best jobs ever. Number 10. Chief Mouser. Chief Mouser to the Cabinet Office is the title of the official resident cat of the Prime Minister of the UK at 10 Downing Street. Only 4 cats, Humphrey, Sybil, Larry, and Freya, have ever been given the title officially. Other cats were given this title affectionately, usually by the British press. These cats don't necessarily belong to the Prime Minister in residence. The cat with the longest known tenure at Downing Street is Wilberforce, who served for 13 years under Edward Heath, Harold Wilson, Jim Callaghan, and Margaret Thatcher. Obviously, the Chief Mouser's main job is to actually be able to earn its keep, and that's making sure there's no mouse or rat around. Back in January 2011, rats were seen on Downing Street, but there wasn't an incumbent Chief Mouser at the time. And that's how incumbent Chief Mouser Larry got to have his job, as he was brought to address this issue. Definitely not a bad gig for a cat in order to live at a fancy place. Don't you guys think there should be an official position for a dog or a cat at the White House? Should it be a cat or a dog? Let us know what you think. Also, do us a big favor and hit that like button. Number 9. Master Artists. Can it be true that elephants are artists? Can they really paint pictures of flowers, trees, and even other elephants? Apparently, yes. You just need to train them a bit. And this is how elephant art exists. There are now at least 6 different elephant centers in Thailand where elephant painting is done. These centers originally developed when logging by elephants was outlawed in Thailand, and all the domesticated elephants suddenly found themselves out of work. Their future looked bleak, as there was no hope of returning them to the wild. Then, someone had the idea of setting up elephant sanctuaries where animals could be shown to visitors for a small fee. Out of this came stage performances, and shortly after that, the painting sessions. Each animal has its own personal keeper called a mahout, whose entire life is devoted to that particular elephant. This is a much better gig than logging, that's for sure. Number 8. Miniature helpers. Plenty of people out there need a bit of help on a daily basis, but not everyone can make it work with a guide dog. So, what other options are out there? A miniature horse apparently can take on the job quite easily. Much like service dogs, service miniature horses act as trusted aids for people in need, helping them navigate through the world. Both take about a year to 18 months to train. However, the Guide Horse Foundation in North Carolina notes that guide horses are useful for about 30 years compared to around a dozen years for dogs, making them arguably more cost-effective over their useful lifespan. Hold on, why don't we see more service miniature horses then? Well, there are some downsides. Miniature horses need to live outside, and apparently they need to pee a bit more often. However, the interest for miniature horses as a service animal grew so much that the North Carolina Foundation stopped taking applications for a bit. Number 7. Wildlife Control Officer. Collisions with birds and other wildlife can be extremely dangerous to aircraft, so the FAA requires airports to have plans to mitigate that hazard. Some airports use pyrotechnics to keep animals away from planes, but not the airport in Traverse City, Michigan. Brian Edwards, an airport operations manager, began studying the use of dogs, a tool that's rarely employed but one that can be very effective. And the rest is history. His dog Piper took on the job as a wildlife control officer. Piper began his duties in late 2014, and he went viral a little more than a year later when images of him looking Top Gun chic in protective goggles hit Reddit. Edwards started Piper out with obedience and off-leash training at home. That led to some time hanging outside the airport and getting used to the loud noises. Edwards said it took about a year and a half of passive training with Piper in order for him to be ready for his patrolling duties. Unfortunately, Piper passed away in January 2018 when he lost a year-long battle with prostate cancer. On the last day of his 9-year life, Piper chased a snowy owl from the runway at the airport. It was the 8,367th bird he had scared off in a 3-year career as the airport's K-9 wildlife control officer. Number 6. Legoland Ambassador. Did you guys know that there are intense competitions for parrots who compete to see who could be the best pirate? Well, amazingly, there is. Parrots auditioned for the prestigious position of Parrot in Residence at the Legoland Windsor Resort Hotel in the UK. Charlie, who was 32 years old at the time, won over the judges to win the position after the call went out to parrot owners all over the country. There are rounds of intense competition. In the end, 4 parrots competed for the honor. Tracy, a scarlet macaw with some pretty decent scootering skills, Zico, a green-winged macaw who can push a tiny trolley, and Jethro, a hybrid who can quickly place gold coins in his own treasure chest, were all outdone by Charlie. Charlie was able to play dead convincingly as a pirate. Judges described her as a, quote, born buccaneering double bluffer and the perfect pirate's first mate. As a blue and gold macaw, Charlie's other talents probably include some loud one-liners here and there, as well as destructive chewing. Not a bad gig. Number 5, soothing crime. In Kyoto, Japan, the long arm of the law ends with a paw. Meet Iemon, Japan's first police cat. He was an abandoned stray, a cat who unofficially joined the force at the tender age of 2 weeks. However, he now spends much of his time atop the service counter at Yoro Station. Of course, police work is serious business, but Iemon isn't solving mystery crimes or chasing bank robbers. Not that there's much need for things like that anyway. Approximately 30% of the households in the region are elderly residents over the age of 65. As it turns out, the biggest threat in the region are scammers calling senior citizens to send money over, a serious problem among Japan's aging population. And that's where Iemon steps in. He accompanies the police team on duty when visiting local residents. Iemon's presence helps to relieve the anxiety of the senior citizens who might be easily disturbed by an unexpected police visit. Of course, Iemon is also popular with the local kids. You've got to admit, he looks good in his custom-made policeman's uniform, topped off with a paw print badge. Number 4, Kid Helper. Imagine having the power to help kids with disabilities. That's what Gigi, alongside a dozen of other dolphins, are able to do at the Dolphin Assisted Therapy Center in Caraco. Dolphins are able to help kids with disabilities such as autism, Down syndrome, and cerebral palsy relax and learn more efficiently. The Academy Center has an open water program, meaning that as the dolphins accompany the trainers on daily excursions to the open ocean, they are free to leave or come back. Janelle Niemer, a PhD candidate of the University of Tennessee who researched dolphin therapy for her 3-year fellowship in veterinary medicine, says experts aren't sure why dolphin therapy works, but they believe it could be the sonar the animals emit underwater. Research shows that children have much better improvements when compared to traditional therapy alone. Number 3, Chicken Musician. Have you guys heard the joke why the chicken started playing the piano? Okay, we haven't heard it either because we just made it up. Maybe you guys have seen this, but 2 women brought a chicken on stage to perform on America's Got Talent. Joku, the chicken's handlers, announced that she was going to play the patriotic song America the Beautiful. And yep, Joku was actually able to play the song. At first, Joku looked lost in front of the keyboard, but after a little while, she was able to perform. Okay, she follows a red light on the keyboard to do it, but come on, it's still impressive. And it's a great gig for a chicken. Joku's handlers admitted that Joku isn't the only musical chicken in their flock, as they said they also have a drumming chicken, and they're planning to put a band together. Okay, who are the people that think of this stuff? Number 2, vet assistant. Doctors sometimes need an assistant who can help them do their work in the most efficient way. As it turns out, Alexei Krotov, a veterinarian from Russia, has one of the best assistants out there. That assistant happens to be a raccoon. Taking care of a raccoon has always been Krotov's dream, so after he became a vet, he decided to get one. This is how Yasha came into his life. Alexei and his wife saved him from the horrible conditions in which he was living and brought him home. At first, he lived in their family home, but later, the family decided to move him to Alexei's clinic. That's when Alexei noticed Yasha's amazing ability to calm stressed and sick dogs that come in for treatment. This made Yasha a local celebrity, and sometimes people only come by just to see Yasha. The rumor is that cats don't really like Yasha, but hey, he's amazing with dogs. What do you guys think about seeing a raccoon at a vet's office? Let us know in the comments. Number 1, military dogs. Come on, you guys knew that dogs had to make this list twice. Dogs have been in combat with U.S. soldiers during every major conflict, but they weren't officially recognized until the Second World War. Sergeant Stubby of the 102nd Infantry Yankee Division went from mascot to hero during World War I after being smuggled into battle. Stubby went on to detect enemy gas, bark out warnings when rival troops were near, and locate the wounded on the battlefield. Stubby forged the way up for all canine soldiers who followed and remains a symbol of military bravery and heroism to this day. Today, more than 1,000 dogs are trained at any given time in all branches of military service. The complex training techniques are designed to utilize dogs as natural gifts for focus and aggression to the military's advantage. German Shepherds and Labradors can use their noses to detect many different weapons more accurately than any available military equipment. Estimates are that there are about 2,500 dogs in active service today and about 700 deployed overseas. With an average of 98% accuracy in their detection skills, the peace of mind dogs provide to the troops is immeasurable. Here's what's next. One of their ways of having fun is to terrorize a pufferfish. The BBC documentary Spy in the Pod showed dolphins masterfully handling a toxic pufferfish. Dolphins have figured out how to extract pufferfish toxins just for fun. The fact that they handle the fish with a certain degree of expertise suggests to